Hey, welcome to JD's Corner. I'm JD and this is my corner. In today's video, I wanted to share with you a bit of my own personal story and my journey through dealing with anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and depression. The reason I want to do this, really, I have two main reasons. The first is I truly believe that anything that we can do to kill the stigma around the conversation on mental health, the better it is for everyone. The sooner we can normalize having open and honest dialogues, I think the better everyone will be for it. And so if my vulnerability can lend you some strength, if reliving some of my trauma is of benefit to you, then I see it as a win. I think that would be great. Secondly, I think one of the reasons I want to share with you my story is to lend some credibility to the various tips and strategies that I'm going to be sharing in this channel. I want you to see that it's not just some sort of textbook knowledge. I didn't just read this from letters on a page and hope that it's going to be good advice for you. I'm not just here trying to spew theory, in some sort of aspiration that maybe it'll help you. No, the various strategies and the information that I'll be sharing are all things that have actually helped me as I personally had to wrestle through a very long season, as you'll find out, dealing with anxiety and depression and panic disorder. And so let's get right into it. Where does my story begin? Well, it actually begins where you might not expect. It begins in a very loving family. I was raised by two very loving parents who did their very best to give us and provide for us a very safe and warm environment. They certainly were there for us, they supported us, and they did their very best to provide for us. When I say us, because my siblings all shared this experience. But like any immigrant family, we definitely had our share of struggles. Adjusting to life in a new country, in a new culture, in a new language, definitely brought about its own share of difficulties and challenges that we had to navigate through. But even though I was raised in a loving home, we did not have the vocabulary to communicate things around anxiety, things around stress. We didn't have the working knowledge that is more common these days in discussions on mental health. And so as a child, I actually witnessed and experienced pretty traumatic events, but I didn't have a way to share that. I didn't have a way to cope or manage, and I didn't even realize that these things have lasting effects on your body and on your mind. And so what I realized now as an adult looking back is that my body was starting to already manifest the clear symptoms of anxiety and stress. I just had no idea that's what it was, and I had no way of communicating what I was experiencing. But some of my earliest memories are of me having dizzy spells. From a young age, I would have dizzy spells at various times throughout the day, and I thought that was maybe just me feeling unwell. Maybe if I just slept a little bit or if I took a nap, that would fix it. Not realizing that this is how my body was trying to warn me that we are quite stressed. And so this would happen quite regularly throughout my childhood into my teenage years. I would have days where I just had to miss school, or I just couldn't go anywhere because I had what seemed like vertigo, this nonstop spinning, but no idea that that was actually being produced, at least in my case, produced by stress. But I guess the real peak of my story, or I guess you'd call it the depth and the sinking valley of my story, actually starts about 16 years ago. I've now graduated university, I've started working in my career, and I haven't had a dizzy spell in maybe 3 years. I think I'm fine. I thought this was just something I dealt with when I was younger. I've overgrown it, I'm okay. And life gets messy. My work situation became extremely stressful. My home situation was also quite challenging with various things that had arisen in and around the same time. And lo and behold, one day I simply wake up and I am spinning. My dizziness is back. And I have never felt it this strong. It was the strongest I'd ever felt it. I get rushed again to emergency because I don't know what's happening to me. And again, the medical staff have no answers. They don't know what's going on, but this is severe. And the worry about it, the frustration around feeling this way, I start to have what I later on found out was a panic attack. All of a sudden, I'm losing my breath. I can't breathe. I have this pain in my chest. The world is spinning. I'm sweating. I can list it on and on, but it was quite severe. I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was going to die. And we just waited it out. We rested in ER. There was not much they could really do for me. But again, still no one brought up, hey, have you thought of looking into anxiety? Or have you considered you might be having a panic attack? That language still, even there, this was a different city, different medical staff, but even there it was not discussed with me. Well, I go home. My situation hasn't changed. Work situation is just as stressful. Life situation is just as stressful. But now I have a growing anxiety every day, terrified that I'm going to be dizzy that day. And so this constant fear about a symptom that was produced by stress in the first place, this fear now about experiencing that symptom again is only increasing my stress, and that's a vicious cycle, right? And so 1 week later, 1 week to the day of having that, I have another severe panic attack. But this time I have a full mental breakdown, and it was terrible. At this point now, I guess I had stressed my body to an actual breaking point. And so at this moment started what was a 2-year process towards recovery. And so what happened? Well, again, I had the dizziness, but with that dizziness, now I was having panic attacks, but I was having them many, many times a day. I was nauseous. I couldn't eat. And then I was starting to have something called jerks. There's another word for it, but I would try to fall asleep. And just as I was trying to fall asleep, my whole body would kick up and my heart would race. And again, it's almost like a panic attack. And so I couldn't sleep. And anytime I was trying to rest, it would happen again. And so imagine, I'm having dizzy spells all day. I'm not able to eat because I'm incredibly nauseous. I'm having panic attacks nonstop where I can't breathe. I'm sweating out and I don't know what's going on. I think I'm gonna die. On top of it now, I can't get any rest. And I actually didn't sleep for about 6 days in a row. And I became quite delusional because you're not getting any sleep. And I eventually had to be checked into the hospital. And it was in and around that time where it was actually a friend of mine who said, hey, have you ever considered looking into panic attacks? Like, has anyone ever talked to you about panic attacks? And I had never heard the word. I had never heard anyone talk about it. And it's almost like a light bulb went off. And I thought, could this be? And of course, I'm desperate for help because my symptoms now, if I took the time to list them to you, I don't think it's very helpful, at least not right now, not in this context, and it would take a long time. But suffice to say, I was enduring significant physical symptoms constantly. And this broke me down to the point where I actually became agoraphobic. That is when you have the fear to leave. And so I didn't leave my house for a year. I want you to understand what I'm saying to you. I didn't walk out my door for a year. I was terrified, and I can't explain why. I had no idea why. Even then, I had no idea why. Now I understand that it was anxiety, stress, and its toll. But in that moment, I had no idea. I couldn't even leave the house. I would only go out maybe once for 10 minutes to just walk in the fresh air if my wife was there to hold my hand and help me outside. And I couldn't leave my house for a year, which means I lost my job because I couldn't work. It means I lost who I was. I had no sense of humor. I was not smiling. I was not happy. I was miserable. Again, dizzy, sick, couldn't eat, losing weight significantly quickly, very unhealthily. And my world was just crumbling. And because of all of that, because of the lack of sleep, because of all these symptoms, because of being isolated from the world, because I was too afraid to leave my house, I sank into a depression, a very dark depression, a severe depth of numbness and distance where I didn't even recognize myself. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't think I'd ever be myself again. And I had no desire for life and no hope in life. And that actually lasted for about 2 years until I started to have some suicidal thoughts, right? I'm thankful that I never acted upon those, and if that's you, and if you have, you have my love and my compassion, and I do hope that you'll get some help, and that maybe these videos can point you in the right direction. But because of the fear of the thoughts I was having, and the worry that I might act out on them, again, I checked myself into not emerge, but the medical equivalent, the emergency equivalent of mental health, and it was just a dark season. And it was in that moment when my world had fallen apart, where I was cut off from all my friends, cut off from my family, cut off from my work, and really cut off from myself, not getting any rest, not getting any sleep, and living every day in a constant state of angst and overwhelm, with constant panic attacks, feeling trapped, feeling stuck, feeling hopeless. It was there where someone raised the point, hey, have you looked into panic attacks? Have you looked into anxiety? And so I started to do research. I started to get my hands on anything that I could, because I was so desperate to get better. I was so desperate to improve and just be myself again, get my life back, get out of this and stop the symptoms, that I started looking for everything I could. And again, I read many books. I read like 20 books, cover to cover, trying to get as much information. I was on different websites, and I went through a mixture of 12 medical professionals. So I saw psychotherapists, I saw psychiatrists, I saw anxiety therapists and counselors, I saw medical doctors. I was seeing everyone and anyone, and let me tell you, they're not all the same, and they're not all good, but if you get the right one, it's really helpful. I'm a big believer and supporter of therapy. If you're on the fence about it and you're dealing with anxiety or depression, I just want to gently encourage you to go. Even if your experience with the first one's not good, like I said, I went through 12 until I found the right one. And that right one literally changed my life, literally saved my life. And so if you are on the fence about trying out therapy, I just want to give you a plug to go try that out. If you've tried therapy and you hated it, it didn't work for you, not all therapists are the same. So please don't make a blanket statement or a generalized opinion on that industry, or if you've had a bad experience. I had several bad experiences that made things worse before things got better. But if you find the right one, it makes a big difference. And if you can't afford one, or if you're not interested in one, again, or if you are even seeing one but you want more help, I do hope again that this channel helps you. And so, like I said, I was reading everything that I could. The problem is, everything I was reading, while it was good information and there was a lot of self-help stuff, and there was a lot of good strategies for the mental side of things, the cerebral side of things, and that's good and that's crucial, there was nothing addressing my symptoms. There was no one teaching me how to calm down my body and get these symptoms to stop. And there's just no way to move forward if you're not doing that. At least that's my theory. That's something I believe strongly. You can have all the cognitive behavioral therapy in the world. You can have all the strategies for identifying your stress triggers. And we're going to talk about all that because it's helpful. But if you're having symptoms now, and there's tons of symptoms. There's literally a laundry list of symptoms that you could feel and have no idea that it is stress-induced. These are caused by stress, and they drive you nuts, and they can themselves cause greater anxiety and overwhelm if no one teaches you how to address the symptoms, how to address how your body is feeling. You can feel stuck, and all the therapy in the world doesn't seem to help, because in the moment, right now, you need to put out the fire. You got to put out this fire of these symptoms before we can address the underlying things that started them to begin with. So symptom management does matter. I believe that you want to address the root causes of things primarily. Yes, for sure, of course. You need to get to the cause of what's triggering your anxiety, what's triggering your depression, what's initiating these panic attacks. You do want to get to that, but sometimes you need to lighten the symptomatic load first before you can do that effectively. And so I want to share with you some strategies in this channel on how to do that. And so that's just a portion of my story. I don't know how long I've run. I just wanted to share with you that I understand what it's like to feel trapped. I understand what it's like to feel overwhelmed. I know what it's like to grasp at anything to try to get some sort of hope, get some sort of help. Like I said, I've read so much material, I've gone through so many specialists, and I've filtered out all of that to give you the stuff that I think made the biggest difference and the stuff that I think is the most effective. And so the rest of this channel, I'm going to create various playlists to help you, just find what you need. If it's information to understand anxiety, to understand what panic attacks are, because understanding them takes the bite away, takes the sting away. That's crucial. Or if you want to learn how to deal with symptoms, then how do we reduce the severity and just how consistently we're having these symptoms. If you want that, I'm going to make a channel a playlist just for that. And I'll have other content out there. But, what has happened in my life? Well, when I started implementing the strategies that I will share with you, when I found them and I started trying them out consistently and faithfully, I saw significant improvement. Truly, I saw my symptoms go away completely. I saw my fear go away completely. Panic attacks outright stopped. Depression lifted. I was myself again. I got my joy back, my sense of humor back, my personality, so to speak, returned. I was able to get back out there in the world and work. And now I'm not wanting to paint you this lofty picture as if though there's not still things that I deal with. No. Anxiety is something that exists. It's not something you have, it's something you experience, right? And we all gonna have anxiety. We're all gonna have moments in our lives that are very stressful. But if we have the right tools now, we learn how to manage, how to cope, and how to deal with things so that they never break us down like they did before. And so even though I have moments that are very stressful still, even though I have experiences in my life where these are tough emotional situations, I have the tools now, I have these strategies that I utilize so that I'm never broken down under the weight of these things, and I can keep going forward. And so I will be sharing more, there's so much to say that I don't want to say it all in one video. I don't want to take up 3 hours of your time. But as we journey together, I hope that these things help you. I hope that you will start to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I truly hope that my story in some way is of benefit to you. Yes, it was hard. Yes, I've endured hardships. I had seasons where it was terrible, but I'm doing great now. I'm doing great now, and I know you can do it too. I know you can get there as well. And so keep at it. Click on the various playlists, click the various videos that I'm going to put together for you. Try these strategies, be diligent with them, learn as much as you can so that you understand what you're really working through and dealing with, and that'll help empower you and help position you for success here. And I know that in time, you will be okay. You will be okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to our next conversation at another point. You take care.